who was a mentor, took me to a place that had some Native American wickiups, the remnants of them. And I had never been or even knew anything about that as a kid. And so I'm going to show you all of this that's come in behind me, all these stores and bridges, and none of this was here, none of it. And when I was a kid, I used to come out here and I could ride my bike all the way out here. It was miles from anywhere. And I could check these artifacts out and these ancient archaeology sites. Now it's busy. There's a million people that live here, a ton of people, and there's cars. If you can just see all the cars everywhere, and nobody knows that this is still here. And the sad part about it is it's for sale. And this is one of the very last spots. There's only a couple left that I know of out here that is protected or has all of these ancient archaeology sites. It's been dug up, it's been excavated, it's been, most of the artifacts have been taken. When I was a kid, I used to four-wheel drive all over this mountain with my truck. I didn't know. So off we go, because I see people coming and I don't want them to know what's going on. So I'm going to turn the camera. Walking along, talking to myself. As people see me, they're going to say, what a crazy guy. Oh, she's walking backwards anyway. She doesn't even know I'm here. She's working out her back muscles or something. Anyway, so this is a cool bridge. Look at this. Oh, a gas station that I go to. And I have good cell service because that's there, but that didn't used to be there. And I didn't used to have a cell phone when I was a kid. But so most people just walk this trail and get their exercise. And then they don't realize that, hey, let's go off-roading a little bit. So, you kind of have to know it's here. And I know, I've known for decades that this was here. And it's not going to be here for much longer. So I wanted to document it. I wanted to put it on here. Everything that we have here in my community is just getting built over by houses, and one of my favorite archaeology sites got completely covered by houses. And I personally, wow, she's walking backwards still. Check this lady out. She's gonna walk across the bridge backwards. Oh no, she saw me. I got spotted. Anyway, she's probably looking up here at me. I'm looking at her walking backwards, and she's like, hey, look at that guy carrying his phone and talking to himself. This is very steep, so if I start breathing heavy and get winded, it's okay. So most people just come out here on their Jeeps and their trucks and they drive around on this and they do stuff, but they don't realize what's really here. Getting quite the view here though. Check that all out. Houses, there's Smith's. Grocery store, there's a school, Pine Valley Mountain. And there's the lady that's walking backwards. Wow, she is really out to get them. I should maybe hike this trail backwards. No, that's not gonna happen. Okay. So, if you follow the road, you're not gonna find it. But I know to go between these bushes here, past the garbage on the ground. Garbage. Should have brought a garbage bag with me. I'll come back. Other than it's for selling, they're gonna build houses here. So if you look over here, there's a jackrabbit running. He's hanging out right on the old community. So that little ridge right there was where all of the Paiute Native Americans lived in what's called wickiups. And they were here for probably close to, I can't remember the dates so they lived in this area, but it was like 1,000 years ago. And we still have them here out on the Paiute reservation area, but this is where they were living, was on all these little hills up and down the Virgin River drainage system. And I used to come up here all the time and look for different types of pottery and arrowheads and things like that. It's just amazing how they just disappeared, mostly from illnesses and running out of things to eat. Obviously, a lot of people came into this area and moved in and competed for their food and water. I really like how everything they did was, their houses were built out of the earth and their pottery was built out of the earth. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to find some pottery for you, at least a couple shards. But all these little mounds up on the hill here where people were digging in their houses. The remnants of the wickiups. Now, if you search for wickiup, you'll see it's a round circular area of rocks with a flat floor of rocks and then sticks that are arched around. And the rocks were usually a type of river rock. And these piles of dirt are where people were excavating. And these river rocks are what's left of the exterior of the circular area of the home. I try to find one that hasn't been excavated. There's a few up here still. But you'll usually see a pit, like an indent like that. I don't know what that is over there, but it wasn't there last time. Somebody's garbage, maybe. So this one's been dug. They've dug down in here. Obviously, this one has been excavated quite heavily. And oh, they've really been digging up here since I was up here last. They've really been working, digging all this out right here. You would never know it. I'm sitting right here in the middle of all these houses. All these people just passing by on their busy, busy days. Headed to work, headed somewhere. And standing in the middle of an ancient Paiute wickiup civilization. This one, like you can see a pit right here with some rocks. That one has not been dug out. And there's quite a few pits and mounds. Dirt where they've been digging them. God, I hate it when people do that. Look at that. Just bring all their trash out here, dump it off the back of their truck or something. Just dump their trash. And they're gonna level it and put houses over it. Crazy. Ugh. Get me started on that. Anyway. So these flat rocks like this used to be the floors. These were the floors. So when you dig down in the dirt, you get to this level, you know you're at the bottom of the wickiup. And then they would stack rocks in circles around the outside edge. And then they would take sticks or trees and bend them over and make like a round. It was sort of a round looking teepee. And all of these areas that are dug are where people were excavating for pottery. I made you a promise, so I'm gonna find you some. Here's a piece of pottery. It's hard. See, that one, even that one fooled me. That's not. Hang on, I'm gonna find you one right now. Where are the pottery shards? There's like 3 kinds that I find here. One of them, they actually used their fingernails when they were making it, and they would poke. You can see like this circle of rocks right there. Obviously that's something. They would poke their fingernails into the pottery. And then there's also some, here's a piece. It's an actual piece of a ancient Paiute Native American pot. And they actually would make this out of the clay in this area and fire it. They would burn it and cook it so that it would dry. And it's just amazing to me that all these years, hundreds of years later, it's still here, preserved. So that right there, that's just a plain piece of pottery. There's some that has black dye on it that's still intact, and there's the fingernail ones. I'd like to find you one of the fingernail ones. But this ridge, there's remnants of a whole society that used to live up here. And I mean, the views were just incredible. And even when I was a kid, you could come up here and you could see deer and everything down there. That place over there is called Stone Cliff, all those mansions. There's some celebrities that live up there, and there was an amazing archaeology up on top of that hill. And there used to be bighorn the desert bighorn sheep would live up there, and there was a pond kind of over in that area where we would raft and canoe as kids, and there would be some really, really well preserved wickiups in those trees. They mowed them all down and built an athletic club and houses. But this, I live over there. That mountain is called Shinobi. That's where the medicine man used to go. And maybe I'll go up there someday and do a live feed. It's quite the hike, but that's called Shinobi. Very steep, very rocky, but that was a very sacred mountain to the Paiutes in this area. So, back to the civilization here that is about to be sold and turned into houses. I can see that somebody's been marking here that maybe they need to excavate this one or dig this one out. You have to kind of look at these mounds of dirt, and sometimes where the water has ran, you can find the pieces of pottery. I used to just love to visit this area, and I don't come up very often just because this gets trashed so much. I mean, if you start looking around like this, there's just beer cans everywhere, just junk. It makes me sad. It makes me sad to see all this kind of stuff happening on such a area of the world that you know that the people that lived here took such good care of and had so much pride in. And I can't even imagine what they would be thinking today if they saw how much we've destroyed this area. Okay. There's a piece with the fingernail marks in it. Okay, so those little indents, when they would make the pot with the clay, they would poke their fingernails in and they would texturize the outside of the pot. So the inside was smooth, and the outside had the fingerprints. And so that's a little piece of fingerprint pottery. Yeah, they've really been digging this up. It'd be nice if I could find one of the ones with the actual dye. That's just a rock. Funny fact about me, when I was in high school, I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I joined the Southern Utah Amateur Archaeology Club. I tried to learn how to read the petroglyphs, which I never could quite get that figured out, or even believed that what people were telling me they were supposed to meant, because I think we guess a lot. There's a little tiny piece. Let's see if I can find anything. Another piece with the fingerprints on it. That one's got some nice, can't see it too well, the lines from the pot. That one's got a little bit of texture to it. It's neat to see. Really neat. The ones with the black ink were very hard to find even back before everybody got cactus in my socks. We're coming up here, but kind of fascinating to me just to think about it, you know. So that's all these mounds and all these circles is what used to be a whole community of people, families living, hunting, working together. They look like pits like this. You can just see an indent in the ground. And the floors were just lined with the flat rocks that you see laying around up here. These would have been pieces of the flooring. That would have been pieces of the flooring of their homes. And they had one of the best views in southern Utah, which will probably sell for millions of dollars for somebody to have their giant house right here overlooking the fields. And there's some pretty neat things in these rocks below us. There's some wild beehives that have been here forever and ever and ever. But I parked way, not that first truck, I don't know whose that is, but I parked clear over that second silver truck over there by that car wash. And all the way up this hill, and I'm not gonna go all the way up there, but there's quite a few more of these old wickiups. Man, I wish I could find the... They're just hard to find. Like this would have been maybe a rim of a pot. You can see how it has an arch to it. It's still smooth on both sides. And that would have been a piece of a pot, maybe the top of it. There's just little tiny pieces. You start to recognize them when you've been out here enough. Otherwise, you would have no idea what the difference is between a rock and a piece of pottery. And it's very hard to say how old some of this is, but it's very old. I mean, it's just really, really old. And people were probably looking for like full pots. I mean, there's some little pieces right there. You can see that gets flooded, very, very flooded. And they had some fantastic views. So crazy to see it all building in so fast, but hopefully you'll get some joy out of this. Centuries old. I just like to imagine how they lived up here, and hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you. Bye-bye.